The Merry Pranksters, Chapter 12, Episode 1. Heavy raindrops splatter against the windshield of Hank's red F-250 like Texan assassins, and another chilling reminder that all of us someday will die. As we drive along Highway 70, headed out further than I'd ever traveled, I'm mindlessly scrolling through my phone to avoid talking to Hank, while the hollow echo of my Tic Tac case causes a chest-clenching anxiety. It's not that I'm unaffected by Gonzo's touching funeral last weekend, but honestly, I'm finding it increasingly difficult to know who I can trust. The truth is, it's been a hell of a week, and, we all mourn in our own unique way, I suppose. After my prescription ran out, I got a few oxys from Blair. Then Raggedy Annie gave me a garbage bag full of assorted Quaaludes. I don't regret taking more than the recommended dose in order to endure a full day of classes at Lindenwood today, but now I'm paying the price, and it is steep. The ghosts of moderately intelligent undergrads were haunting the old wooden classrooms with an arrogant touch of malice. When Professor Donaldson started her lecture on the American Revolution, I had to choke down a handful of the blue tabs, 60 milligrams of Adderall, and a Z-bar just to make it through the lecture. Professor Donaldson insists that we call her Bev, like a hot aunt who will smoke you out at a family get-together. It was only after she referred to JFK as Jack for the third time that I was ready to wheel out the guillotine. Redemption came when she asked, "What would it take for you to join a radical group of students who wanted to overthrow this university right now?" I started looking around for a clipboard and a pen to sign it with, when she began explaining that the early years of the Revolution were a tough sell for most of the colonists. With the exception of possibly the Adams boys, convincing loyal subjects of the crown to revolt against the most powerful empire the world had ever known was not only traitorous, it was suicide. I never realized that it wasn't until much later people started talking about being Americans. For some men, the budding nation was unshackling themselves from the chains of tyranny. For others, it must have felt like the actual sky was falling. Feeling extraordinarily alert, perhaps a bit jittery, I took 2 white tabs that tasted chalky like Darvocets and zoned out, thinking back to Gonzo and Fuki's microdot phase when they decided to start a band. What the prison blade shanks lacked in talent, Fuki made up for in ambition, and Gonzo with ferocious swagger. The way Gonzo used to tell the story, you would have thought it was our idea to start jamming with them. The Merry Pranksters was just what Drunk Eddie used to call Dickie and I when we would rock Misfits songs for open mic night. Just like those early Patriots, when you get the right group of boys around the beer houses looking to make some noise, revolutions become inevitable. When Bev started talking about liberty and free will, I went to the toilet to crush up all the red pills I had left in the case and snorted them with a rolled-up dollar bill. I don't know how free any of us really are. I feel like every time someone declares themselves liberated, some crusty pedo with a Swedish accent is laughing maniacally over a golden globe. The way I hear people like Bev and Dickie talk, it sounds like they're suggesting we're not even pulling our own strings. Whether that means I'm not actually choosing this red pill over the blue one, or that it was just written in the stars that fathers run off to get milk at some point, they just get to choose the day that suits them, I have yet to wrap my mind around. It certainly feels like we make our own choices, especially the bad ones. We sure suffer the consequences like we do anyway. What then are we fighting for if not? Why would some phantom gypsy travel through spiritual realms just to bum a couple of bucks off me and then walk her hound of hell through a graveyard, if not to try to persuade me of something? By the time Bev gets to the Treaty of Paris, I awoke. I could tell I was weeping by the way Nina No-Knickers with the tramp stamp on the small of her back avoided eye contact. The next thing I knew, I was watching the giant maple leaves spiral down to earth to lay with the rest of the fallen along the rolling green lawns. As I swung back and forth on the wooden double bench outside Jensen Hall doing the daily crossword puzzle, Two thoughts were the source of a crippling dread. One, that I could catch a falling leaf on the empty swing across from me before the last one fell, and the second, a 5-letter word for taxation. As a falling red leaf barely missed the seat across from me, my old roommate and new fashion coordinator, Chad, walked up dressed like a sleazy television lawyer. "Hey, Broseph," he said, his pecs bobbing through his hot pink button-down. "Nice jacket. I remember nabbing that from H&M. Hey, I saw you guys play the other night at Cooper's. That was fucking awesome, bruh. It sucked when all those greasy motherfuckers showed up. That shit was insane, man." "Yeah, well, it got a lot crazier," I said dully, touching my scarred face. We spoke about pulling the football team to work security for the Halloween Monster Mash and designer men's clothing. While I nodded along with a furrowed brow, assuring him I was paying close attention as he spoke, he looked at me with enthusiastic eyes that left me praying for a way out of this. At the risk of digging my own grave any deeper, there was one question I really wanted to ask. If shoplifting was so easy, I needed to know, why didn't everyone just do it? His eyes locked with mine, his brow raised knowingly when he said, "It's not what you do, Brosephine." His head nodded solemnly. "It's how you do it." As I'm glancing down at the watch that was never on my wrist, I tell him, "That's deep, man. You should tattoo that, somewhere." While I write in 42 down. In all capital letters, I fill in the squares with the word theft. After the long walk home, I was considering ripping open a time-released Adderall, dumping the beads down my throat, and then laying a towel down on the Italian leather sofa for a good day wank. My world fell apart when the sound of Far Beyond Driven coming from Hank's truck peeling in the driveway interrupted the money shot of Lotus Blossom Eaters. He walked through the front door without saying anything and slammed it behind him, stomping over to the bar. He poured a glass of Irish whiskey neat and drank it and mumbled random swears under his breath and walked into his bedroom and slammed that door too. If I thought it would have helped, I would have offered him a Klonopin, but I didn't. After the commotion of dresser drawers opening and closing and zippers zipping, he walked out into the living room. He was wearing a loosely buttoned bone denim shirt over a crisp wife beater and carrying a brown Nautica duffel bag that he gripped tightly in one bloody hand. "Schultz," he said, rolling a pool ball along the edge of the table. When it ricocheted off the side pocket, I noticed his raw, unscabbed knuckles, and he looked up at me like he was unsure of what the next step should be. "We gotta go take care of something." Enduring the squeaking wipers cleaning the autumn rain from the windshield has become as maddening as staring at an empty Tic Tac case. Speeding down the highway in Hank's red Ford, exactly where or how long we've been driving is unknowable, just that we're headed so far out west that we'll end up on the eastern edge of the earth. I know he knows I want to know what his problem is, and where we're going, and why he's holding out on Fuki's record deal. But all the courage I can muster is to ask, "We're not going where I think we're going, are we?" As if punishing my cowardice, his reply is simply, "Dude, you're gonna have to trust me," without any attempt at eye contact. Everything from the humming of the road to the drop of dark blood dripping from Hank's swollen knuckles are amplified like a raving ecstasy trip. After Slayer's raining blood ended, he glances over at me like he's about to weigh his words carefully, but unfortunately, the only thing I'm interested in hearing him say is the one thing he's still refusing to tell me. There was something about the way he ended his rant with, "Dude, you gotta get off those pills," that tells me this may be a bad time to tell him that I've taken every last pill there was to swallow, and I've drafted a plan to burgle a pharmacy if I can't score some more soon. While Hank is asking me redundantly if I know painkillers are the same as heroin, in a way that comes off as a lecture, I'm distracted watching the vision tricks that the vanishing point is playing against the red imperial sky. He asked me what my plan is for when my prescription runs out, and I ask him what his plan is for not getting us killed today. He draws a deep breath and flashes a look. It wasn't the look I had hoped for, one dripping with cocksure hubris, but instead it was a look of reservation that left me wondering who it was he was trying to convince. "I don't know what's going to happen here," he tells me, "but I wouldn't have dragged you all the way out here if I thought we had a choice."